Hello, guys. Welcome back to another episode on the show, Control or Be Controlled, a podcast designed to help you start thinking differently and take control of your life. And I remain your host, Darlington. Today's guest is Ben Davies, founder of JP Marketing, a Google Ads agency that helps Shopify brands doing between $2 million and $5 million a year unlock. After scaling rapidly through Meta, many e-commerce brands hit a ceiling. Ben specializes in building Google Ads into a profitable second acquisition channel, not through flashy tactics, but by getting the fundamentals right. Ben is known for challenging common marketing metrics, prioritizing accurate tracking, and telling clients the truth even when it is uncomfortable. Ben, welcome to the show.
Hi, great. Thank you for having me.
Okay, and I hope you enjoyed that introduction.
Yeah, that was perfect. Thank you. Yeah, founder of JB Marketing, work with any D2C e-com brands, within that sort of price range, within that revenue range. We run their Google ads often when they've hit the ceiling on Meta ads or they just want to scale a second profitable channel.
Okay, thank you so much. So, most of your clients, they come to you after hitting a ceiling with Meta, right?
Yes, yeah. Most of them, before us, they're running Meta ads on their own, usually as a very small team or maybe a solo founder. And they've started Meta and they've got it to a good point, but they want to build a team, they want to grow a business, and they want to introduce more marketing channels.
Okay, so you think the reason why they come to you is because they have hit a ceiling with Meta?
Yeah, well, they come to us because they want to grow. I guess being dependent on Meta ads and only having one marketing channel means anything that goes wrong, any bans in your account, any increases in advertising costs on Meta, and it's going to impact their bottom line. So it makes sense when you get to a certain point if they add more marketing channels, especially Google Ads, which for most businesses can be that sort of easy-ish or like quick-ish platform to get going. It means they have that channel ready to go and scale.
Okay, so is there a time where e-commerce brands should invest in Google Ads and a time where they should not?
Yeah, I mean, if they can afford, usually when we start with brands, and usually when most Google Ads agencies start with brands, the first month is very much a setup month. So it's usually a month where the profit from Google Ads is at its lowest in the relationship with an agency or a freelancer or an in-house Google Ads specialist. So I think as long as you can sort of weather that period, you can weather 1 month, 2 months maybe, then you'll know that after that it will be a profitable engine for your business. But if you can weather that startup period, then it makes sense for you to move into that platform. It also, it does really depend on the niche you're in. Obviously, different niches, different products will have different search volumes. So whether there's 1 million searches a month for what you sell, or there's 1,000 searches for what you sell, then it's going to massively impact sort of how far you can push Google Ads.
Okay, thank you so much. So you often say the biggest problem isn't the campaigns, is the tracking.
Yeah, it's a huge issue across some of the brands when they've come to us initially.
So how common is this issue and how can founders be able to spot this issue?
It's pretty common if you don't know Google Ads and the platform. If you're sort of testing it out yourself, if you're not a Google Ads specialist, or if you've not put the time into learning the platform, then Google tries to get you into these scenarios where it really benefits Google, but less so your actual business and your profit and revenue and everything. Which is why, like, some brands, when they come to us, we see them tracking page views as a primary conversion action, potentially tracking or multiple or double tracking conversions, things like that they just don't check or they're not told to check by Google, which can have a huge impact into how you manage an account. I would just recommend, if you are running Google Ads, just look in your conversion tracking, just look at your conversions. If it matches up with what you see, or if it closely matches up with what you see in things like Shopify or Triple Whale or GA4, then you should be okay for that purchase conversion action. And if you see any other conversion actions set as primary, if they're not what you're aiming for, remove them. Page views, in my opinion, should never be a primary conversion action.
Okay, so you are outspoken about ROAS being a misleading metric. So for those who don't know what ROAS is, can you please explain what that is? And
Sure, yeah.
what should businesses be measuring instead?
Sure, yeah. So our ROAS is return on ad spend. So say you spend £100 on advertising and you return £400 in advertising revenue. It's a 400% or a 4x ROAS. The issue comes when brands assume what a profitable ROAS is for them or what their break-even ROAS is. And often it doesn't actually match up with their business's unit economics. So it used to be the case, a lot of brands that I worked with would just sort of come to us and they'd say, oh, we're aiming for a 3 ROAS, a 300% ROAS. And they kind of wouldn't explain why. So we'd try and hit that, we'd run with that, we'd get them to that figure. And then when we actually talk to them and when we dive deeper into it with them, we realized that this 3 figure has come from a friend or has come from just a historical metric that they were hitting. It doesn't actually mean anything to them. And I think that's the issue that happens a lot. So with my agency, we put a lot of time at the beginning of a relationship to figure out the unit economics, and we figure out what they actually need to hit to break even, and then obviously what they need to hit their desired profit margin. And often it's actually a lot lower than they expect. Like if they were originally targeting a 3 and we find out their break even is actually a 1.5, then that's a lot of room that you can scale advertising. And it's a lot that you can push an account.
Okay, so here's my next question for you. Can you share with us a client's success story where fixing the fundamentals completely changed the results?
Sure. Yeah. There's a few to choose from. I think one that would be good is a jewelry brand that we worked with. So we started with them. I believe it just hit 6 months with them. And when they first joined us, they had been trying out some Google ads. They had some campaigns set up. They had their conversion tracking, what they thought was set up. And what we did initially was we audit the conversion tracking just to make sure those issues I mentioned previously aren't occurring. And we made some changes there and got the conversion tracking a lot more accurate. That not necessarily a performance improvement, but a visibility improvement. And then the second thing is, and I think what's neglected a lot in Google Ads accounts is the feed optimization. And the feed with your products in is such a good input or such a utilized input by Google to actually serve your product on Google Shopping and Performance Max campaigns. So optimizing that feed made a huge difference to how the overall account performed. And it just meant that we were able to sort of show for more keywords, get more clicks, and then ultimately more conversions to the client's website from that. And with that brand, I think we scaled them to, $100,000 in profit in that first 3-month period. And then by now, I think we're well over $250,000, $300,000 in profit from that brand.
Wow, that's wonderful. So, you have grown your agency about 5-fold in a year. I mean, that is what you help businesses do. So I'm sure that was an easy peasy for you to grow your agency. So what mistakes? Okay, say something. I want to say something.
I think one thing we hadn't considered at the beginning is we didn't know or we weren't tracking well enough our business metrics. we didn't know as an agency our revenue figures, like things simple like that. We didn't know how our expenses tied up to that. We didn't know what our overall margin was as a business. And I think as we scaled, that just it became evident that we weren't running it as efficiently as we could. We were spending too much potentially on it, tests and advertising and marketing strategies that meant that our margin really took a hit there. And that just meant that we didn't have as much capital as we could have done to scale if we need new team members, or if we saw a good opportunity to acquire customers with the partnership, we didn't have like the capacity to do that. And I think now we've really learned and we've built a system where we know exactly how much we've made, how much we've spent, what our staffing costs are, what benchmarks we need to hit in order to, one, start looking and conducting interviews for new team members, and two, for when we actually pull the trigger and hire a new team member, to make sure that obviously it doesn't sacrifice margin too much, but also the team doesn't get overloaded currently. And then when that person joins, they don't get overloaded with us assigning them clients straight away. And that just meant that we have a really clear picture in our minds now of like, when we hire 2 more clients, or when we hit this revenue figure, or when such and such happens, that's when we'll add a team member, and we can forecast that now for the next year of what things will look like for us. It just really, really helped us improve as an agency and understand what we need to do.
Okay, so I was going to ask you as well, what mistakes did you make along the way, and what would you do differently now?
I think it would just be start tracking everything earlier. Those metrics, we only understand them now. We've only understood them for the last couple of months, but the first 6 months of running the agency was flying blind. Like, we didn't know what our pipeline looked like. We didn't know what our expenses were, revenue were, profit was. And it made everything a lot more confusing. And I guess the mistake is just not tracking everything at the beginning as soon as we could.
Okay, so we believe in telling clients when something isn't working instead of protecting the relationship, which most people would do. So why is that approach important for you? Why are you not bent on keeping the relationship?
I think it's just a trust thing. Every client of ours has access to exactly how much their Google Ads has spent, returned, and the profit from those Google Ads. If they're losing money or if performance drops, there's no benefit to anyone, us not telling them. And I think I've worked in agencies, or I've been in agencies in the past, where you would just kind of sugarcoat it and you would say like, oh, it's the market, the weather, it's out of season for that product. But the fact is, if the business is making less money and you're not telling them they're making less money, they might make decisions just assuming things are still good. And if that business obviously has issues or cash flow issues, or God forbid, like closes or anything because of any decisions they've made or because of seasonality or anything, we don't want that to ever be a reflection on us or our service. And we try and get the best results for our clients. I think some agencies, they focus too much on themselves, when really we're just a service provider that our entire objective is to make our clients more money.
All right, Ben. So tell us the biggest misconception that business owners have about scaling paid advertising.
Sure. Yeah, I think when brands try Google Ads themselves, it's usually not successful from the brands we've worked with when they've tried, and I think they treat it possibly closer to a paid social channel like Meta Ads, when in reality it's kind of its own separate thing. It's search, it's inbound. People are actively researching you, rather than Meta Ads where you're disrupting them and sort of reaching out to a customer. And I think just because it's such a disconnect, when they try it themselves, they see the platform and then they try and use it, and they maybe think that just it's not a channel that's going to work for them or perform well for them. It's been a lot of like intro conversations with clients where they say like, oh, I've done Google Ads in the past, it was awful, so I'm not going to do it again. And it takes a little while for us to sort of persuade them that like, oh, well, it can work, and we can prove it works with our roster of clients. But it requires specialism to run.
All right. So for brands already doing millions in revenue, what separates those that continue growing from those that they hit a ceiling?
Yeah, I mean, they might not be at a ceiling with Meta. There might be room. They can continue growing, obviously, with Meta or other social channels or other marketing channels. What we add is just another marketing channel for them. If they want extra profit and want to start running on Google Ads, or if they want to protect their brand name or their product from other brands running Google Ads on those terms, then it just makes sense. It offers protection and it offers incremental revenue for a business. So if they're trying to scale as fast or as much as possible, the more marketing channels that are profitable, the better. And Google Ads is just one of those extra channels they could run.
All right. So if you could give every e-commerce founder listening to us right now one piece of advice before they spend another dollar on ads, what would it be, Ben?
Yeah, I think it's making sure the fundamentals are there. Make sure you know your unit economics, exactly how much it costs to fulfill a shipment. And fulfill a shipment in the entire sense of the word. Most brands know their COGS, or maybe they don't even know their COGS, but if they have one product or a few products, they should know their COGS 100%. They also need to know the fulfillment costs to get it from someone ordering on the website to them having the product at their door. And that means you have to account for your shipping, you have to account for your marketing costs, you have to account for potentially your fulfillment or your customization or your custom packaging, and you've got to know the COGS. And all those combined mean that the cost to fulfill your product is more than most founders know. And then once you know that, you can really just work out how much you can afford to spend on advertising before it becomes unprofitable. And if you know it costs you, if you know it costs you $20 to fulfill a $40 order, then you know that you've got $20 to spend on marketing. And it just makes it super simple. You can look at the numbers at a top level and you know exactly if you're profitable or not. But most founders, they don't go into too much detail there, and they don't maybe understand their unit economics fully.
All right. Thank you so much, Ben. This has been so exciting. Thank you for sharing such practical insights into scaling e-commerce brands, measuring what really matters, and building sustainable growth through honest marketing. So, Ben, is there one question you wish I would have asked you that I did not ask you?
Yeah, no, I appreciate all the questions you had. I think it's a good understanding of Google Ads and sort of when and why to go into it. No, I can't think of any questions extra, no.
Okay, so for those that would like to learn more about who Ben Davis is and JB Marketing, how can they do that?
Sure, yeah, so my website is jbmktg.com, which stands for JB Marketing, and to find me individually on Instagram, ben.ppc.
Okay, thank you so much. And my listeners, thank you all for listening. You guys are the reason why we are able to do this. If you enjoyed this episode, subscribe, leave a review, and share it with someone looking to grow their business more intelligently. Thank you all so much, and I will see you guys on the next episode. Bye,
Thank you.
guys. Thank you, Davis.